In your head, you have massive dreams. You have massive aspirations. You want to do a lot of different things. But in reality, you play very small because you're scared. You're scared to do things because you're afraid of what people are going to think about you. And you're afraid that you're going to look stupid in front of people because you're trying to do something that they themselves don't even see that they can do in their lives. You don't want to get judged. You don't want to get judged by people, so you stop doing things that you want to do. Welcome back to Be Unafraid podcast. You don't need anyone to tell you that you're not enough because you do that plenty yourself. In how you talk to yourself and how you make yourself feel small and how you always put your needs last. If this is you, then this episode is for you. Today, we're going to break down the 6 quiet habits that scream low self-esteem. These 6 habits are very subtle, but they chip away at your confidence, and most people don't even realize that they have them. I'm going to help you name them and shift them so that you can actually become that person that you're meant to be and be your confident self. So let's get into it. The first one is you apologize for just existing, not for making mistakes, but for simply taking up space. You say that you're sorry for just feeling like you're a burden. There's a story to this that I want to tell you, and this goes back to a couple of weeks ago. I have a friend of mine that I work with, and she wanted to go out to lunch one day, and she invited me out to lunch. So she sent me a message at probably about 10 past 12, and I didn't see that message till about 15 minutes later. At that time, she had already gone out, gotten lunch, and then came back about 45 minutes later and immediately apologized to me because she felt that she had done something wrong. And she was sorry that she didn't ask me earlier. And there's nothing wrong with this, but it kind of started to get me to think that I wasn't sure exactly what she was apologizing for, because it wasn't anybody's fault that I missed that message, right? It was just because the timing was off and I didn't get to see the message early enough, and not because she could have done anything differently. So the fact that she felt the need to apologize to me gave me kind of a thought in my head to think about this whole notion of self-worth and self-esteem and apologizing for things that you really should not apologize for. My friend felt like she was a burden at that point, or that she had done something wrong, and totally understand it, and it's okay. And in society, it's polite. I do it too. I'll apologize for things. But now I've become more self-conscious about the things that I do apologize for and the things that I don't apologize for. I now apologize for things that I truly do, that I feel I was in the wrong, or I did something wrong to somebody, or somebody felt I did something wrong to them. But I'm not just going to apologize just because it felt uncomfortable, or just because my own self-worth felt challenged by a decision that I made. And that's something that you need to be conscious of. And that's a sign of that low self-worth, self-esteem. And once you start to realize that and understand that, you start to be able to pick up on those signals and realize that not everything deserves an apology. And you should only save your apologies for things that you truly need to apologize for. The next one is you over-explain because you don't trust your no. This one is very interesting because it's something that we all do whenever you take a stance, whenever you create a boundary or say a boundary, and you say that you're not going to do something, you're not going to give something, you're not going to move forward with something, and you tell somebody no. You feel that you need to justify it. You feel that you need to qualify it, because just that feeling of no creates a level of uncomfortability in that situation where now it feels awkward. It feels weird, and it feels like you did something wrong, and you start to personally feel like you attacked yourself. You start to feel bad about it, because that sort of void, once you say no, and that person, you can see it, that they don't know how to take it, or even if they do take it, you feel like you need to add more to it so you can lessen the blow. That's a sign of self-worth, a sign of self-esteem. You're not entirely comfortable in your boundaries. You're not entirely comfortable in yourself because you're hoping by qualifying that no, that you give to somebody else that they're not going to think less of you. And that's really what it's about. It now becomes less about them, less about the no, and more about you and being accepted by that person, because you're afraid that your no is actually going to damage the relationship in some way. And that's just not true. That's just not the case. Saying no is okay. Saying no is a good thing. And you need to know when to just say no and to let it be a no, let it hang out there, even though you might feel uncomfortable, it might feel awkward, you might feel like you need to go back and say anything else. If your intentions are good, if your intentions are correct and your heart's in the right place and you're looking out for yourself, then let your no just be a no and be comfortable with that, because that's going to help you with your self-belief and self-esteem. Subscribe to the channel if you're done putting yourself last. This podcast will help you rebuild your self-esteem and to start to build that confidence for you to actually step out and feel like the best version of yourself. So let's get back into the episode. The next one is you're chasing validation of other people instead of actual connections. You're more focused on being liked rather than being yourself. And it's actually very, very exhausting. If you can resonate with this and you understand this point that you seek to be liked more than to be okay with yourself, then you understand how tiring that is every single day when you're chasing to please other people, when you're chasing to make other people happy and to make other people accept you every single day for your entire life. You know exactly how it feels once you go to bed every single night and you just feel exhausted because you're living out for other people and you're not living out for yourself and you're not taking care of yourself. This is a sign that you're afraid to look at yourself. You're afraid to look internally and to really do that work to now figure out why you're not happy with where you are, why you're not happy with you, and why you're not happy with where your life is. You put your happiness in other people and you start to focus on other people because it takes that attention away from you. And that's a very dangerous thing to do. It's a very dangerous thing to do because you can only do that for so long. You can't run for the rest of your life. You can't run for your entire life. It might feel like you can, but there's going to come a day, which is always sooner than later, where you're going to be forced to self-reflect, whether you want to or not. You're going to be forced now to look at yourself and really audit your life and think about, am I good with me? And am I good with where I am? And when that time comes, if you haven't done the work to be able to answer those questions, it's going to be a lot of agony, a lot of internal strife, internal battles, internal struggle, and that's okay, by the way. That's the nature of it. But there's definitely something to preparing, something to choosing to actually dive deep and go and do the work voluntarily, because at some point life will happen and you will involuntarily have to do all that self-reflection. And by that time that you do it at that point, things are not going to be ideal. So it's better to choose to do it and actually work on it yourself, because it's going to happen whether or not you want it to. One of my favorite sayings is from an episode I heard from Chris Williamson's podcast, and he talks about chosen suffering and unchosen suffering, and that in life we face both things. We're going to face both things. There's going to be times that we choose to suffer, and there's going to be times that we don't choose to suffer. And if both are going to happen, why not choose chosen suffering as your training grounds? Why not choose to do the work, to do the deep dive, to do the growth and development and train for those times that you're not going to choose? When those times come, you're going to be better prepared if you choose to do the work now, as hard as it sounds. But you have to understand that in order for you to be good with yourself, you now have to look inwards. And that's a very hard thing to do, but it's a necessary thing to do if you want to build self-confidence and self-esteem. The next one is you downplay compliments and you resist kindness. This one is a tricky one. It's a very tricky one because there's a notion in this world that we're taught from an early age to be humble. And we're taught that when somebody praises you, you're not supposed to take it and accept it and fill yourself up with it and feel like you're the best person in the world. You're supposed to downplay it. And when someone shows you kindness, you're supposed to also accept that, but show humility at the same time. So it's kind of a weird one because a lot of us will tend to take that to the extreme. You take that to the extreme where maybe your level of self-worth is not high enough to where when someone compliments you or when someone does something kind for you, you don't feel like you actually deserve it. And because you don't feel like you actually deserve it, you don't accept it. You either reject it flat out verbally to the person, or you pretend like you accept it, but in your head, you don't actually accept it at all. So this one, you really need to pay attention and really audit yourself. And it's going to take some time for you to understand when you're doing this and when you're not doing this. And what it requires is for you to be truly honest with yourself and be able to answer the question, are you good with yourself? Are you good with where you are right now? And when you do get a compliment, how do you accept that compliment? Do you immediately dismiss it and reject it, or do you accept it and let it fuel you and make you think that you're the best person in the world? Or are you somewhere in the middle? That's a personal reflection exercise that you can do, and think about that. And think about that and share it in the comments below. I'm curious to know where you fall in this spectrum. And when we talk about accepting, you also have to be careful with how far you let that go into your head. We all know that this world is a world of duality. It's a world of polarity. So there is the good, there is the bad. There is what goes up must come down. There is nighttime, there is daytime, right? So with compliments, there is good compliments and kindness. There's an opposite to that. There is words that are not complimentary, and there is unkindness that will tear you down. So you need to be careful with accepting compliments, because one of the things that I have learned from one of my teachers, Shifu Shihangyi, is be careful how you receive any type of feedback, whether it's good or bad, because if you invest in the highs, you're also going to invest in the lows, meaning that if you take everything that's good and you just feel like you want to consume more of it and you let it pump you up and give you a big head, then you're also going to do the same thing when the bad things come and the bad things happen, because you're going to take those on too in that same type of intensity, and you're going to invest in those things. And that makes you swing on the very fringes of each one of these spectrum, right? So you're not staying steady. You're either all the way up here or you're all the way down here. So it's important that you be mindful of that. And it's important that you understand that when you receive something good, accept it, take it, move on. When you receive something bad, think about it, understand it, move on. It's the same concept for both good and bad. The next one is you shrink your dreams before you can even get started. You play small. In your head, you have massive dreams. You have massive aspirations. You want to do a lot of different things. But in reality, you play very small because you're scared. You're scared to do things because you're afraid of what people are going to think about you. And you're afraid that you're going to look stupid in front of people because you're trying to do something that they themselves don't even see that they can do in their lives. You don't want to get judged. You don't want to get judged by people. So you stop doing things that you want to do. And this brings me to a story about when I first started training for mixed martial arts. It's one of the best things I've ever done for my life. And it's the thing that's given me the biggest growth and development in every aspect of my life. But there's also the feeling that when I first started, I was afraid of what my circle is going to think about it. I didn't grow up around people who were in the mixed martial arts world. I was not friends who were in the world of mixed martial arts and cage fighting. So I was afraid of what they would think about me because I'm going into this other world that they may not have perceived to be of kind of their thing that they do. And what I realized about that is I was just afraid of their judgment. I was just afraid of their opinion of this thing that I was going to do. And ultimately, all of that was completely wrong because they ended up respecting me even more after doing that thing because they saw just how much I was passionate about it, and they saw how dedicated I was into mixed martial arts, and it inspired a lot of my friends and family. So it's a very weird thing where we're afraid to do new things and jump into new things because we fear people's judgment. But the truth is, most people are actually going to respect you more and are going to be more impressed with you because you're doing something that is unconventional and something you want to do. The next one is you call it being humble, but really you're just hiding. You're just hiding, you're just dimming your light. You do things, you accomplish things, you get a promotion, you get a certification, you graduate, you win at a competition, you win in a sports event, whatever it is, you win and you get compliments from people, you get praise from people, but you call it humble and take that attention from yourself and try to put it on other people and say that you're not all of that. You're not that good. And you now start to shift the focus away from you. Really, a lot of that is because you're uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable with all the positivity that's coming your way. Maybe because you haven't felt that before, or maybe the times that you felt it, there's been a negative aspect to it, but you're not comfortable with that positivity that's coming your way. So you don't feel like you deserve it because your self-worth and self-esteem might not be as high or at the levels that you want it to be or at the levels that it should be. So you push that stuff away and you keep pushing it away and you make it about other people when in reality, sometimes you need to stop and smell the roses. That's saying you need to stop and smell the roses and you need to stop and get your flowers sometimes. Even for me, means that when you do something that is extraordinary, when you do something that is hard, that is tough, it can be anything. Sometimes you just need to stop, accept the positivity, accept the compliments, and acknowledge yourself that you did something you set out to do and it was a good thing, and you should take that and you should let that build you up for the next thing. If this episode resonated with you, don't stop right here. Watch this next episode right here. In that episode, I will show you the things that are slowly killing your self-belief and how you can overcome them. So go and check that out. Take care and have a wonderful day.